They just do that.
I'm ready.
You're ready? Okay. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Review the minutes.
No, we just keep on following it. I'll get her later.
We've got roughly 1 hour, so I would say just a few ground rules if we could. If everybody would remain civil. I think everybody is here for a very important reason, decision. So just trying to figure out in order necessarily how we address this. So taking necessarily by order. People attending. Is everybody here collectively as one group, or are we up here as individuals?
Probably individuals.
I would say individuals.
Okay. Then I'm just going to go ahead and proceed with order that everybody showed up as attendance. Myers and Kirk and Dick all showed up at the same time. You guys want to choose who speaks first?
Well,
I'll give it.
I don't need to speak, I just want to see what's going on.
Okay.
All I'm here for is, Jeff, is the, obviously probably everybody else is too, the landfill. We have multi-properties, and some are sitting idle with nobody in them.
Okay.
I don't feel like that's something that we need to be paying on if the properties are idle and in renovation mode, and a piece of property that has no house on it, that could be taxed.
We can address, there is an appeals process, obviously, if it is vacant.
Well, somebody should have done their homework and we went ahead and go through it.
You know, like in,
Kind of a slip through deal, in my opinion.
okay, on the vacant lots, I mean, there's no way for us, the county, to know if the property is vacant if you open multiple properties. There's no way that we know that it's vacant. I assume a rental.
Check the county, the appraiser does it all the time.
As far as like vacancy, you still pay property taxes on a property whether somebody's living in it or not. And that was the basis that we used for, you know, for our, to start with, is we used our appraisers list as far as the properties are actually in the books. Now vacant lots, if something like that has not been updated, and I don't know what the situation is on vacant lots, but we have seen some situations where houses were tore down, dilapidated, et cetera, and it was never reported that, and we're catching some errors like that right now, that's a vacant lot, and we can fix that.
Well, mine is in the 10-year revivalation deal, whatever it is. That should have broken up the red flag there, as long as nobody's there, you're not on the project, you're not. I mean, you know, get it home, they just try to slide through and not do any work.
I can assure you nobody's trying to slide anything through. I mean, you just don't start a process this large with trying to slide anything through. You know, number one, we're making a fundamental change to something that's been more than just an issue. We've got a funding source problem that we've had for multiple years.
Okay, that was one question. The second question was, what about like Martin's Trash Service picking up people's trash in the city of Lancaster? We're paying the $61 every household, and then you're paying them to pick the trash up. What are they paying back to you guys?
Currently, there's nothing set. They were never paying anything to us anyway. There was no such thing as tipping fees. And I do have a copy. If you guys want copies, we can provide. This is a solid waste study that we did at the end of 2011 into 2012. And one of the things that was discussed was on tipping fees. And what you're talking about would be an indirect way of raising tipping fees. So if we're charging for every hauler in the county that hauls into our transfer station a fee, they would just pass it off on to you. Tipping fees, based on the study and some of the feedback, there was concern about if we implemented large tipping fees in the county, we would see possibly an increase of illegal dumping. It would also possibly push some people to the point of being absolutely cost prohibitive. There wouldn't be as much control on the county side. If we were just pushing it off onto the haulers, they would indirectly push it off onto you and be paying probably, I don't know what those amounts would be, but it would be a very high sum. And according to the study, that was one way to fund it. That was looked at. They also looked at sales tax. The sales tax, the fundamental thing that we looked in the study was there was no actual correlation to trash generation to the current 1% sales tax funding formula that's in place. So, I don't know if that answers your question. I mean,
well, I guess it does. But and then the third thing I had if we're going to fund this, obviously the counties make more money. Are these guys that are working out there going to do any more than direct you back, stop you, and go back and sit on these chairs they have lined up on the wall?
okay.
I mean, that don't make much sense to me. That guys are. I've seen ladies come in there and they won't even help them get stuff out of the back of the pit. But I don't have a problem with it. I think it's an issue when they stop you within 6 feet of the pit and then you go back and sit down in the chair.
Yeah, we would go over solid waste manager. I'm not sure if that has something to do with liability insurance side, or I don't know if Matt wants to address that later.
Well, always, our policy out there, if we have the time to help people on those, we do, and, you know, if we're busy doing something else, then we don't. It just depends, you know, there's a lot of things going on out there. It just depends what's going on.
Well, I'm out there a lot just because of my business. And if you're out there in the wintertime, the backhoe's sitting outside around you, or it's sitting out there running the air conditioners around you. I mean, that's just money going away too, guys. You know, just little things like that needs to be addressed instead of throwing fees like everybody else.
Okay. So it's good.
Probably should have said this at the beginning. I think we need names and addresses for the minutes.
I have names.
Do you? Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. Did Dick or Ryan, did you want to?
Same thing. Well,
Similar.
I got a piece of property where I got the house is.
Mm-hmm.
Then the alley separates this other piece of property on it, and there's just my camper shed on that. I'm paying on that too.
Okay.
That's what I'm against. paying it twice, just across the alley, that's what I'm against.
Okay, and we're gonna look at each individual thing. Chase Brunick, our project manager here, just like, these are things that you definitely need to file an appeal, and we're gonna take a look, we're gonna be reasonable about it. We're not putting the hammer down saying this is it. Hopefully everybody understands that we're working with people, and if there's errors or if there's, like we're talking about, like vacancy of lots, or even, in some cases, the fees, we're gonna review every one of them. It's not, we're being absolutely firm, and hopefully I'm speaking resignation to chime in, but, we're reasonable, we're gonna be reasonable about this, and we're gonna work with people on this.
How that residential fee is assessed is, as you guys may or may not know, it's a flat fee that's assessed to every residential property. How these things, occurrences where you have one property, a house on it, and then something with some kind of improved property or structure or something of the sort, that's still not a vacant in the assessor's office or the appraiser's office. Vacancies are just land, plots of land that have absolutely no improved property on them, and those were filtered out. You still have properties that don't generate necessarily any trash, but they still have an R class on them, and we have 8,000 to 9,000 different properties, so it's time and cost prohibitive to have people go out and check every single one of them, especially when their assessment is based on real estate and ours is for a different purpose. So we had to use different information that was available to us to make a judgment call on that one. We're in the process of filtering out properties that don't have houses on them or don't generate trash, and we do have an appeals process, so that if you want to point that out to us, we'll fill it out so that we keep a record of it, and we can make those changes for future reference. But honestly...
But that costs money too.
What?
The appeals process obviously costs just as much as someone going out and checking these properties.
No, it revolves me printing up 2 pieces of paper and handing them out. They get filled out. If we can look up on GIS Orion, we can look up on the property, and that correction can be made. If it's more than reasonable, it can be made in a couple minutes. It's not time prohibitive, it's not cost prohibitive, it's very easy, and that's the way it's going to have to be done until we have a completely different system, or add that to the appraiser's list of when they come to properties. But even then, we're still not going to have up-to-date, like, weekly, monthly, yearly updates. It's still going to take a while before it gets updated into our system. So I understand the frustration, but we're doing the best that we can for what we have.
You let me put a deck on the back of my house, you're going to know about it in a week. Somebody's obviously out there checking houses for that. How come they're not checking for the others, what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to me.
So the first year of our program, we're working through our issues. We obviously don't have, nobody has the information that would be specific to what we're trying to assess. So we're working through it. And that's all I can say right now as to the residential.
Question. I haven't followed this until I got the bill. Then I got interested. Up front, did you determine this is the number of dollars that we need? This is the number of properties, number of businesses. If we assess them this amount, the two will equal. Is that where you came up with the number, or was the assessment just let's charge this amount?
I can say the assessment wasn't just this amount. What we had to do is, this year, we were due up for contracts. Working with the city of Atchison on single stream recycling and the curbside pickup, we also went out and bid out to multiple companies for hauling our trash out of our transfer station. It's just a transfer station. Some people still call it landfill. Basically, we had to get bids on what it would cost to haul that stuff out. We didn't have that information until August. What we did know based on the study is, and getting information from haulers, what type of trash apparatuses or dumpsters, how many times they were being picked up. It was a combination of those things that we went into to determine the fee, and it basically breaks out to $61 per 26 cubic yards trash is generated, and that was based on, that was based on a study with Jim Heineke LLC, which, yeah, we can give you a copy of, but as far as like the communication side, obviously you said you didn't get it until you read to see what it was, and obviously nobody can over-communicate. Obviously this is definitely not the case. There's, I don't know if that's answering
Well,
some of your...
if I know a car costs this amount,
Yes.
and I'm gonna make payments over 12 months, I know how much I'm paying each month. How much do you need each month? Is that the same that you're generating? Are you gonna make money on this deal? You're gonna still lose money on this deal?
Since this is truly like a transition year, the solid waste fees still do not cover 100% of the first year costs of going through this whole new system change.
As you buy equipment, et cetera.
Yes.
In subsequent years.
Yeah, we're still using sales tax dollars to fund the transfer station, which before, that's all it was. There was a 1% sales tax that some of it goes to solid waste and some of it goes to joint communication. And this is like that, this is a transition year. This is a transition out of that sales tax formula, funding formula, into something that's probably more viable, something that would, there's no correlation with the sales tax.
Depends what side of viable you're on.
And I agree, and you're right. I mean, and that's why we're here today, I think, to discuss, and like I said, we're gonna be reasonable. We're gonna make, you know, there's an appeal process, but there's also a way that, you know, we're gonna work with business owners, because it's not the intent, you know, or it'd be counterintuitive to drive out business, obviously, due to taxes or excess fees.
So the tax is gonna go, sales tax is still gonna remain, the 0.5% or whatever.
In 2013, though, we can't just stop the sales tax within 1 year. We're gonna need legislative, we're gonna take legislative action, which would be in 2014. They're not gonna address this in the current Kansas legislature in 2013. But in 2013, I think that was the intent of our, I don't know if anybody heard, we were looking at a countywide summit with leaders from all the cities, even our local state reps, where we sit down and this would be one of the things that we fundamentally take a look at and change. And I think there's some ideas on how we can do that, how we can change that.
Has the city come through on their money they owe us?
Well, it's a deep issue. It's a deep problem, actually. It's a problem, you know, and I think over the years we've put Band-Aids on issues. I think collectively we're all in this together. It doesn't just start out with one entity doing this. I think over time, if you look at the history of it, there's been issues with the county on how they use the 1% sales tax. There's been issues with cities. It's not just one person. I think we're all in this thing together. And I think if you look at it, you know, there truly is no correlation with the sales tax and funding of solid waste. There's just no absolute correlation whatsoever.
Do I understand you correctly, in 2013, we're going to collect both the sales tax and this new tax, correct?
That's correct.
We're doing it in 12.
No, we're doing it in 12.
We're doing it in 12.
We're doing it in 12.
Both. This year.
This year, we're paying it this year.
This is
For 2013.
No, we're paying it this year for 12.
12 tax that we're paying, and we have our separate, so you're.
It's retroactive to the first
What you're paying now is for the 2013 year.
No.
You may perceive it that way, but I'll defer to Pat. Legally, you're paying it for 2012.
It's on a 2012 tax bill.
It's on a 2012 tax bill. We are getting double taxed here.
Yeah.
We're getting double taxed for you're getting taxed twice. Not only are you paying it on 12, because the tax bill, we're one of the few states in the whole union that pay our taxes after we've lived here. Does that make sense? We're paying 2012 taxes. That's what's due in December, and the other half is due in May. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. With that said, the assessment goes all the way back to January of 12. So we are getting double taxed. So we're going to get this at least twice. My biggest concern is, well, first, it's double taxation. What are you going to do with all the extra money? Nobody's talked about that.
What extra money?
There's going to be extra money.
Gotta be extra money.
There's got to be. And I'll give you a little math, just round numbers. just simple math, trying to come up with it, you're gonna collect approximately $800,000 on this, assessment that you already have, minus any appeals that you probably are gonna get. Plus, you already get a portion of the 1 cent sales tax. My understanding from the city, they pay you 80% of what they receive. Is that correct?
No.
That is correct.
That is absolutely incorrect.
I'll give you the numbers.
All right, hang on, let me finish here, one at a time. So I'm gonna assume what I received, that the information I received from the city. You can correct that at any time. And with this, Jeff, this is the reason we got a problem, no communication. We ain't got any numbers. For one, I understand we don't even know what it costs to run this transfer station. Is that correct?
No.
We do know?
We have a budget,
No, we do know, we've had this transfer station in existence for 20 years. Do we know verbatim what it has taken for the last 19 years to run this transfer station?
What figure do you want, Derek? Because you can get that from the audited figures from the budget. What the actual
Just tell me, I'm a simple
I didn't
guy.
bring my packet, but I got.
A simple guy, I just need the numbers. What's it take? What are we taking in as far as revenue? What are we taking in as far as revenue? And what's the difference going to be? Now, in my understanding, all you have to do is submit this to the city. They'll send you more money, but you have to give them the numbers. Now, personally, I think this is a fight between the city and the county, and you're dragging all the public into it. We're going to have to pay. Now, I may be wrong, but from the outside looking in, that's what's really true, as far as I can see. Now, as a business owner, just simple numbers. Just the businesses, whether it be a manufacturing plant, a retail plant, the Elks Club, the colleges, the schools, all of these entities, you're going to pull approximately $419,000 out of profit out of the community. Round numbers. Because it's got to come from somewhere. We have to pay it. We haven't planned for it. We're going to pay it for 12, which we haven't had a chance to adjust. No one's had a chance to adjust. Would have been, in my opinion, now here's the real problem, you've already budgeted for this income. I understand that. You've already budgeted for it. You've already passed that budget. What I want to know is how you're going to soften this blow to make it retroactive or maybe delay it a year so we're not getting double taxed for 2 years instead of 1. That's just a little bit of it.
Okay.
Now you can go.
I just want to know what my property taxes are. I'll just take one of my locations. What my property taxes are, and then what the assessment that has been added to it increases my payment to the county 30%. And I don't know what I'm going to get for that money. And the sales tax that's used at the city, I know they repeatedly send you guys money, but you're going to get at least another $5,000 out of me. And I'm just kind of uncomfortable. The fact that we're basically paying it twice, and you probably don't see it that way, but I'm going to tell you what, we're paying it twice. And somebody'd have to show me that we're not. But to increase my property taxes 30%, you guys already increased the general fund, your revenue, by 16%. And, you know, that's the biggest increase in 10 years, 16%. And I know it's the ambulance and all that kind of stuff doesn't make any difference. It's still coming out of the people who are working in this community's pocket. And I think that's where the biggest kick is. It's the trash thing. It's the increase in the taxes that you guys are collecting. And I guess we probably wouldn't mind paying it if we knew what the heck we were getting. Because I don't know what to get for my $5,000. I don't know. You know, the city picks my trash up. I pay them so much a month, and And I told you, if you recall, at that Rotary meeting, I said, this is gonna cost me thousands. And you said, oh, no, it's not gonna cost you thousands, it's costing me thousands. And I'm just a very small person compared to Bennett Community College and Atchison Hospital and Condon, these places like that. I think it's unconscionable. I just really do. I think it's absolutely unconscionable.
I'm sort of on the same lines with Bill. I got a couple issues. One, I pay a service already, okay? This assessment is much more, it's about 50% more than the service I already pay. So I'm paying them, I'd say about $11 every time they pick up. That's gonna bump up to about $25 every time they pick up. If I look at it in those terms, if that's what it's for, trash. So should I get a smaller container? Is that gonna save me money? I don't know, but anyway, I don't mind paying taxes. But my issue is the overall valuation in this town. This county, this city is economically challenged. And I think that this blow that we're taking all at one time is more than we can handle. And historically, I would reference this. I bought a building, Mueller's, that was valued for $19,500, for $18,000 when I purchased it. The value now is $150 something. Nobody would buy it then for $18,000. That was the best offer. Okay, now it's valued at $150,000. My taxes at that time were $865. They're now with this assessment, they're $8,700. They've gone up 1,000% in that 20-year period. I don't know of anything but gold that's gone up that much in valuation, and that building definitely is not gold. It's got, most of the mortar's coming out, you know. But, and I've argued this point downstairs, 3 years ago, we're the only place in the country where values went up. And I told them, you can tell us that you need more money, but don't tell me the value has gone up on my home, on my business, because everywhere else, the values plummeted, 50%, 40%, whatever. Atchison, Kansas, come on, the values went up. I don't know the logic. My case might be a singular one, but I don't think so.
Are you talking about like a state or just individually?
My sales tax.
Well,
No, I mean like a few
my property tax.
Because Jim was up here, and what he told us, the house valuations in the county went down by about 1%, and land valuation went less.
He's talking about commercial property.
Commercial property,
I don't know.
all of
He
it.
didn't tell me.
Or home value. I'm not talking about this year, I'm talking about even 3 years ago, when, if you go to Arizona or any major city, boom, they went down 40%.
But, you know, we do set like mill rates based on the budget. We have very little, we have really no control over the appraised value, because they work from the state standards and stuff, so I hear what you're saying, because I.
But 1,000% in that time period, I mean, that's.
Good point.
And I know coming in 2013, state legislation is looking at changing those specific property tax. I mean, that's not our area that, you know, that we deal with.
Well, like Bill, I mean, my bill, I consider it a tax more than an assessment, went up 35% in a single year after it went up 50% 3 years ago. So you go from a manageable number, and the thing in this community, in that it is challenged, you can only charge so much for a hamburger. You can't charge $8.50 like Kansas City. He can't bump his gas prices up 20 cents to cover this. People aren't going to come, they're not going to buy. You got another one close and another one close, and then we're all on that.
If and I said this before, we have a very distressed retail community in the city of Atchison. And if you just look down the mall as a great example of the empty buildings we have, and then this just makes me wonder, why would we want to sit here and pay twice? I had somebody say, well, you can afford it. I had somebody said,
Yeah, look.
I just wonder how little they know, but you know, we're getting tired of affording it. And, you know, I pay a lot, but when I saw that it was basically a 30% increase from my actual property tax bill, but actual tax, and it was added 30%, I thought, it's immoral. That is wrong. There's no value to us. We see no value, because you collected from the city, there's no value, and that's really the bottom line. And, you know, if I see an ambulance running the road and pick me up or my mom or somebody I know, I see value there. I see a fire truck, I see value there. I don't see anything different at the landfill, other than we're held hostage by Deffenbaugh and Waste Management. Then, you know, where we are, we're basically held hostage by those two companies. But I see no value, and that's what you need either to convey to us, the value, how it's going to come back to benefit everybody in the county, or you got to undo it.
Well, I'll just point out a few things. Remember the fact that KDHE laid landfill stuff on us, so that's a mandate, okay? No state funding, we have to do that, okay? How we tackle it is going to be our problem. I don't think there's any cheap way. I mean, we rebid and going to have a pretty good savings in hauling it off. There's still a certain degree it's going to cost to process or to handle it. And we've got a substation, we've got to move some of that trash, in, or we're going to have trash in our ditches and stuff if we don't have a very good system. We also mandated to have an ambulance service. That's something new. And, just from my standpoint, that's the only reason I even supported the concept. I did not support the dollar amount of using a little bit of the sales tax money to subsidize how we were funding, because it was going to cost us more. When you go from a volunteer service out in the rest of the county that's been funded by property tax and didn't cost much, it costs a lot more to fully staff a unit out there than it did with a volunteer service. Probably to the tune of $150,000. And no one wanted to run a countywide service except us, or to farm it out to and I'll talk to you later about your other, because you were wrong on that deal. You've been misled on your other about who was going to run that service, but I'll talk to you about that later.
Okay.
So we're mandated by that, okay? We've got to do those. They're not cheap. Believe me, we have all been around looking to see, and I look at what it costs for an ambulance service based on how much we're going to have to subsidize per call, because that's the fairest way to look. And it's quite astonishing in some of the best run systems how much you have to subsidize every call. The bigger the ambulance service, the lower the subsidy. The lower call volume, the higher the subsidy.
I'm not arguing that point, because
right. I want you to know, I stepped inside there. That's part of the reason the sales tax, I was for using a little bit of that sales tax money and divert it just to supplement, to make up the difference, what we're presently using. But to highly support the landfill with this kind of fee, I didn't support. I'm going to support my fellow commissioners because we're into it now. I fully support trying to rectify any problems and miscalculations that we've got. But those are things that we're faced with, Bill. And it's going to get a little worse, because what we just come from a meeting, it doesn't look very good for counties and cities if they get legislation passed. And my constituents in my district will be hearing about it pretty soon, because it's going to not only affect the county, the city, it's going to affect the schools. And all because of legislative action. That's going to tie your hands to where you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do this, but you can only spend this much money. So we will probably have to cut majorly if that is dealt with. I look forward, I hope that that will get out in the community what we may be faced with, because the legislative session is coming up. Matt was down there, and he heard some
I'll have one question, I'll let somebody else talk, but how much money has the city given to the county this year from the sales tax that's collected? How much?
406, that was what they committed. They've done what they said they'd do.
And my understanding is.
$1.15 million instead of the county and the sales tax for joint communications and solid waste. We're going to collect about 1.5 million. So 80% is going to the county. It's from the sales tax.
And the joint communications, the communications does not work in this county anyway. You got deputies going west of Lancaster, and you can't hear them back here. You caught a fire call out there, you can't hear nothing back here.
Let's back to your Jack.
So what's your
I just took it out of the city budget this
You're
morning.
talking about what the city collected.
No. The city's going to collect about 1.5 million. You're going to receive 1.15 million.
And that, I guess
You're going to receive that from the city of Atchison.
Which gets back to my question is.
That's the 1%.
If the county's receiving.
That's the 1%.
So if you receive $1 million and they're gonna get another $800,000 in this assessment or whatever you wanna call it, it's a tax to everybody sitting in here. That's, even if he's low, which I don't think he is.
No, I'm right.
Even if that's the case, that's $1.8 million. And I like I said, once again, where's that value? I mean, I don't know what you're going to possibly change to say that we've been doing it this way for many years, and I'm going to have to spend $5,000 more, and I don't know that I'll see anything different, or for that matter, any other taxpayer is going to see anything different. And I think that's where everybody is at odds here, because you know, if they go, if the county says if they buy a new truck, and it costs $28,000 to buy a new truck, we understand a $28,000 truck. We see the value, or if we see the service, but I can't see that anything is going to change. And unless there's something we just don't know, and if that's the case, you need to put it on the table and let us know what's going to improve. So that's a lot of money.
It's not just a one-year deal. I mean, this is like a true transition. This is a true, and I agree with you. I can't physically see my trash going out, but I can visibly see my roads. I can see my infrastructure. I can see vehicles. I can tangibly see that type of progress. I agree with you on the trash side as far as.
But it's 30%. If I'd have got a bill for $61, I wouldn't be here.
The way it was sold, the way I understood it in our local publication.
We're talking about the 1%, is that what you're talking about?
The way the trash assessment was, the way I read it, and again, I go along with Coach Wilcox here. It didn't bother me until I got a bill. The way that I understood it briefly in our local publication, and what little communication we had, that it was just going to be $61 for everybody. I thought you'd averaged it all out. First it started at 72, and then it settled for 61. I don't mind giving another $5 a month, you know. But heck, I got 40 rental properties. It's not like I can go back and along with other landlords, I can go back and assess every one of my tenants for 2012 taxes. When they've already lived there 11 months, say, oh, by the way, you owe me another $60. Does that make sense?
I can understand where you're coming from, and
it strikes right on down with tuition at the college, tuition at Moore Hill Mount Academy, the hospital. They've already spent that. We've already charged it out. That's the reason I could understand if we were putting together a plan and we were doing it. Why we're still collecting on this 1-cent sales tax? Which I might add, are we going to be able to are we counting on legislation to eliminate this tax, or does it have to go to the voters?
I think we have to go through legislation. I think it does eventually have to go back to the voters.
So it has to go back to the voters. So let's just play this scenario out just a little bit. Let's just say they say, you know what, we really like for the rest of all of the customers that come into town to kind of help us pay for that, instead of being assessed our taxes, are we going to get a rebate at the end of the deal? No, we're not.
The rebate would essentially be in the form of reduced solid waste fees, which we have more control over the solid waste fees than you do on sales tax. Sales tax revenues do this. For maintenance operations, it's horrible to budget, and we've seen...
Again, what's the number? What's the number? I've heard everything from $900,000 to $1.4 million. I don't have any idea. It's never been conveyed. Nobody knows what the final number is. What kind of revenue are we bringing in off of our 1 cent sales tax? Is the city really sending us $1.5 or $1.1 million, or is it $400,000? We don't know. If we know that the city isn't sending you all the money, why in the world would we put these guys back in there to run it? See what I'm saying?
Okay.
Doing this thing retrofits back all the way back to 2012. I can't go back there and recollect it, so what's it do? It comes out of my pocket. It comes out of everybody's pocket. That's where I'm going with it. Show me the numbers. Show the community the numbers. You don't have to show them to me. Have Mary put them in the paper. She put the numbers of the last budgets from 2007 to your budget in 2013. You went up 40%. 40% in taxes. I'm gonna speak for everyone here, but I'm gonna say that our wages haven't went up, my sales haven't went up, and if anybody in here says their sales went up by 40%, I'm in the wrong business again. All right? That's where I'm going with it, Jeff. I'm not taking anything personal. I think we're just jumping the gun. If we would have sent out a test plot and said, hey, this is what it's going to be next year, you're going up $61, Bill, you're going to have to pay another 30%, then we got something to work with. We got nothing to work with. We ain't got no way to collect that money.
Another question, Eric, is what percentage of the businesses has your income gone down?
Oh, I don't want to go there.
Well, we're down about 15% from our peak sales tax in 2008. So our community's definitely lost sales on a sales tax basis.
We did research on sales tax in 2004, 2005 when we looked at a quarter cent for the sports complex, which will sunset, I might add. As Mary used to remind us, it narrowly passed by 133 votes. But with that said, at that time, it was generating 1.3 million. And if we're getting 1.5 million now, holy mackerel, we're doing all right. I don't feel like, hey, we ain't backsliding, but there is some companies that are backsliding. Again, if this can somehow be, and I don't know how in the world you do it because you've already budgeted, the budget already has to go out. You've already done it. So it seems like to me, for one, I feel a little duped because I voted for a 1 cent sales tax to support solid waste and communications. But now we're talking about funding an ambulance with it, maybe taking a little bit out here for that. I mean, just lay it out. Just tell us what we're doing. Just tell us what we're doing.
One question I have, Jeff, with regards to the sales tax, and I have 100 others, and I'll let everybody else go first. You talk about getting the legislature at some point, again, that is pie in the sky, whatever, to pass legislation to do something with the sales tax.
Correct.
Okay, but something with the sales tax, what, as a commission, are you proposing to advance? The sales tax to sunset, the sales tax to be a half a cent, the sales tax to be whatever the heck you want to come up with?
Mike, we haven't even discussed that. And for one, that needs to be countywide. That needs to be, because everybody's involved with that. We've got every city in the county, we've got other taxing districts, and we've got state representative legislatures that need to be a part of that equation. Because it affects everybody, the whole 1%.
Kind of like the solid waste assessment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you understand how a county sales tax, the way it was passed?
No, Mike, I understand.
You understand?
Well, I understand it well.
It doesn't matter whether it's collected in the city, it's divvied out.
No,
Yeah.
I understand as well as anybody in
So Jack's
this
figures
room.
are partly right, but they're misleading.
We haven't discussed as a body.
Prior to this time, did you subsidize the ambulance service?
Yes.
How was it funded?
Mill levy,
Property tax.
property tax.
Is that
Has it
still
gone
on?
up that much?
Was it about 330,000?
No, with you, well, you got, what, Wes, there's some in EP, we have to cover.
For about 400,000.
We figured close to 400 by the time you figured the volunteer service.
Yes.
Now, that's different, you gotta remember that for 20 years, the western part of the county did not have the service that the city had. They had a volunteer service, okay?
Right.
And it was funded by property tax.
How much of an increase is it to staff somebody in the county?
Roughly maybe 150, I'm just throwing it, we don't know exactly, but it's gonna cost you about 150 at least.
Okay.
Plus the fact that we're gonna have to talk to the people that run the ambulances, the can's been kicked down the road, we have some terrible ambulances, we're gonna have to replace 2 of them here right off the bat. And that's one of our actions today, is to get 2 of them going.
Replace 2 new ambulances?
They will be new boxes, or new chassis with refurbished boxes.
What's wrong with those?
With what?
The ambulance.
Major failure.
Do you wanna go talk to the hospital?
Just come talk to me.
Well, I understand that, but we have county deputies, we have the sheriff, we have the undersheriff, we have Matt, we have the whole, county road and bridge, everybody are driving vehicles home. What happens if you go to a job? I mean, I understand the sheriff ought to have vehicles if they're home, because they're an emergency. But you've got vehicles driving up down these roads every night, going over to somebody's house, and it's a freebie to them. There's a ton of money right there in gas.
It may be something that we have.
And I know
24/7.
6 or 7
Yeah,
patrol cars,
anybody's
same thing.
24/7, I think there's some justification, but that doesn't take it off the table to be looked at. You know, if you had to drive 20 miles and get your vehicle to go to an incident, it would be a situation, but I hear what you're saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I understand the law enforcement.
We have got
How much would a chassis cost for an ambulance?
I think one of the bids is $68,000 and one is $77,000.
So we're talking $100,000 additional.
$145,000.
$145,000
For 2.
plus $150,000, we're talking about $250,000 to fund the western part of the county and 2 new ambulance chassis, right?
And those are probably being bought out of camp.
No, I think it's more than that. This is maybe getting off the discussion.
Yeah, that's what we're getting
The hospital has been providing the service in the eastern part of the county. The hospital they've been terrific citizens this whole time. They've been running this at a loss for a few years. And, you know, they tell us, well, the losses that they've been incurring have been substantial. I'll just say that. I don't know whether they've made any of those things public, but we were underfunding that project for several years for well up into 6 figures. And so, coupled with that, the problems in the western part of the county where we didn't have we didn't have enough volunteers to provide what we call ALS service, that is paramedic level service on the western part of the county, required changes in both places. And so we're going to go from a $300,000 to probably a $900,000.
Well, you get all your capital outlay and
over the course of that year. And the ambulances we looked at, I shouldn't say we looked at, Wes looked at, and the Tex Inc., who is the contractor that will be providing the service, looked at. We can basically buy a new ambulance for $150,000, or we could fix 2 of them for $145,000. And they're going to basically rebuild the 2 ambulances. They're going to take the body of a new Ford van or truck, I'm not sure what it is.
We need to probably get back on this. We can answer the question about the ambulance later.
I want to ask a question about
They're tied into this thing, though.
Yeah, I know, but we need to, Dick, we've got at 4 o'clock with Terry coming up. And
I just want to make
just a more questions.
quick question, and it's maybe for the county councilor. When you passed the resolution, was there a mechanism there to send out the assessment of the speed, so people would have an opportunity to look at it before it showed up on their tax bill? And I guess I'm asking, was there a mechanism in the resolution to let people know this was coming.
A pre-assessment assessment, is that the question?
No, I'm saying, when I get a tax assessment in April, but you passed this in June, was there a mechanism in there, in the resolution, to let us have a heads up before it showed up in our tax bill?
Jack, apart from what was in the paper and, you know, meetings that we had here and budget discussions, no, there was nothing mailed to every landowner.
But wasn't it in the resolution, Pat?
To send that?
I mean, I just read the resolution, so I'm asking the question I already know the answer to. So, there was a mechanism there that we let people know what their assessment was gonna be.
Well, there was a mechanism to send the fee out with the tax statements.
Well, within the resolution, and I could cite it all down for you, but specific to Jack's question, and I guess Jack doesn't want to answer it, so I will. It states that there shall be a process of appeal mailed. It states that there shall be a schedule of fees mailed. And it states that it shall mirror the way that the ad valorem tax is presented to people. So from my understanding, for example, I was a 1%er. I didn't realize that until I got a spreadsheet today to see, you know, what my initial assessment at Roxton is. I've never been a 1%er before, Jack. It was kind of exciting. I had to join Bill and Larry and probably.
You don't want to join me.
You were on the 47%. I don't know, 7,000 bills. I was in the top 100. Okay, so I got a little angry, so I dug deeper. Bottom line, what all this comes down to is communication. We haven't communicated this well at all. Further, I will go on to assert, based on the resolution, that in the enabling statute, that perhaps you aren't legally allowed to collect this assessment until those statutory requirements are met. Communication. Some things other people were talking about, and if I'm jumping on you, Jack, I'm sorry. The question I have is, you know, you talk about in terms of taking wealth out, you know, immediately. And this is something I, you know, share with a couple of you here. The total amount, the volume of trash, which is unaccounted for, is roughly 35% in terms of trying to assess, apportion it to who's dumping it in the transfer station, 35%. There's another 8% that is unapportioned in terms of, another 8% of the cost is associated with the construction waste portion. So right now, I have 43%, which is unaccounted for in Bill's percentage of what he's paying. I'm confused how, you know, White might be throwing more, you know, in the dumpster. Sorry, White, it might cost you more down the road. But it's a matter of simple fairness. In terms of the data collection, I keep hearing these data collection numbers. It's freaking me out. I've looked at some of the data today, and for example, 409 was paying something, I believe, on the order of $1,600. They have 1,700 or 1,800 students. 377 has about 700 students. They're paying on something on the order of $700. Jeff and my kids go to ACES. Tom's grandkids go to ACES. They're paying $1,000. You know, they have 210 kids. There's something really skewed there. Other data, Benedict College, again, I might have my numbers a little off, $4,000. They have 1,700 residential students. Moore Hill has 185 students, 85 of whom are residential. They're paying $8,000. So let's look at some simple logic between the math at $23,000 for 1,700 kids and $8,000 for, you know, 185 kids. It just doesn't add up. As I looked at the residential rolls, it seems as though, and I have very little time to study this data, there's 7,000, 8,000 properties, whatever. It didn't appear that there's any duplexes listed on any of the property rolls. Again, Chase is going to say I didn't have time to do it. I don't know how much manpower. It's not his responsibility to allocate manpower. But if we're talking about the appraiser's office being able to do something hand and fist and collect that data all at once, You know, we have, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 postal routes in the town. At that time, you could do a drive-by of 7,000 to 8,000 properties. I might be pushing it, you got GIS, you can look at it, but he's got a garden shed on it. You know, golly. The address was, or the business name was wrong for my property. The data is just, and it's not Chase's fault, because he's just a kid. It's not your fault, because it's a new system. But to fix it, we've got to make a lot of progress in where we're at.
President Obama said, folks, it's not calculus, it's math. No, he said it's arithmetic. It's even simpler. I'm not sure our arithmetic's all lined out here.
Well, I still can't see, and I'm being redundant here, I know, but I can't see how my tax bill can go up 30%. That's a big increase, and that's just for the trash. Because out of my other $7,700 that I pay the city and the school district and the county. So now I'm going to have the biggest portion of my property or my tax bill going to the county. You're going to get a 30% increase just for trash. And I just can't comprehend how that number could be such a big number for me. I don't know why you couldn't have actually just gone to a tipping fee, assessed the number one, we could have paid by the month. Had Defenbaugh or Martin, whoever doing it, have them assess us by how much they actually pick up. And I don't think one person in here would have said, well, that's unfair. Because then we would have felt like we were actually paying for what we were getting.
We could have filed with Martin. We could file with Martin.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I've tried to figure out how, and I know that with so many cubic yards, Jack explained to me the formula, but I don't know how anybody knows how much trash I actually have, because we have more one week than we have another. And if we sit there and say, well, he picks it up 3 times a week, we got this many cubic yards, do 2 times 10 and whatever, and that's what it is. That's not a very fair way of doing it. That's like saying every time you go to the grocery store, it's $100. And I would say, so you go to the grocery store, you might buy 3 bananas. So that's what I'm saying, it's just unfair. It's just how it fell, and how, when you get the bill, it's just, and 30%, I don't know how anybody else is with the respect to their property tax bill, but 30% is unbelievable.
I was going to ask you. Go ahead, Derek.
I think everybody's voiced their opinion. Now, what are we going to do about it, Jeff?
What we're doing right now, and Chase has been going through one by one, we are willing to go through every single person. We're going to sit with you down one-on-one, and if there are errors, and we are catching errors, whether it was calculation or misreported property, we're still going to go through there. I mean, I think we as a commission can discuss, probably some options. Obviously there's concern with business owners, especially small business owners. So there's something that we can.
Can you put it on the agenda so we can go back and listen to your conversation?
What's that?
Are you going to have a conversation about this whole?
Yeah, we're going to try and we'll try and get to it today. We got at least one appointment, maybe a couple of other things to do.
Can you put it on your agenda for the next meeting?
Absolutely.
So when's your next meeting, Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Two really quick points, Jeff.
What time?
The study says $37,000 could be saved by dropping one full-time employee from the transfer station. Have you done anything to act on that, just yes or no?
No.
Okay. One other question. One of the things that's been touted is the recycling will save money. I don't know how that all shapes and forms or whatever, but according to your study, 10% communities that utilize recycling cost an additional 10% to the customer. So I just want to get that, float that out there. What do you think of it? If it's a value to the community, great, but communities with recycling costs 10% more.
Yep, there's a little degree. I mean, I brought this concern because right now the recycled commodities are low. All-time low. If they ever reach back to levels they were about a year ago, there could be about, I think, maybe $10 a ton savings, but as of right now, there's no advantage to have a recycling program.
Financially.
Other than the reduced cost of solid waste that we are seeing.
Well, it would,
That's
but,
part of our
right,
reduction.
but if you hold, we're subsidizing recycling right now.
Just as an example, in the downtown community, there's a tremendous amount of cardboard. Tremendous amount of cardboard. You know, just have, but there's no reward for us businesses to participate in recycling. What's our reward? What's our reward? The civic duty of saying we did? Sure, I'm all for it. But we could set up, you know, Deppenbach could set up a concrete or a cardboard recycler down in a location somewhere. I don't have any problem taking it there, but there's no reward for us to do that. It's, you know, there's no reward for painting my house. All I get is higher taxes out of the deal. All right, and we can't deny that. All we get is letters if you live in the city if you don't paint or mow your grass. So, need a plan, need information.
I want to say one thing tonight. I have strong feelings on that. I do take my stuff out to the recycling. I drive out there about every 2 weeks, real easy, and I think a lot of people don't know about it. When I drive home, I feel good. I have granddaughters, grandkids, and I think I'm helping.
Here's a
it
little
takes
statistic.
5 minutes.
Little statistic. Statewide, recycling is done 25% of the state. You know where Atchison falls? 3%. We're sad. We're very sad. We need to address it. But again, Terry, if I can get a reprieve from that, I don't mind giving more to United Way. But here I am, along with everybody else. We're taking approximately $419,000 worth of profit that we have to pay for this year. And we haven't been able to adjust. Nobody's been able to adjust.
I struggle to make my own house payment. I don't have a problem with having 40 rentals, so.
Well, it's not only me, but it's just, it's everyone. It's everyone.
We understand your concern, and we will, this is gonna be an ongoing discussion. I think we're gonna be reasonable. You know, I think.
The thing is though, Jeff, if you do adjust, and he's gonna come through and adjust, where do you adjust on your budget? Because you've already budgeted the money, right?
The other thing is, the property tax is due on December 20th.
First half, yes.
Well, my point remains the same. You know, it's due. This isn't something you say, well, we're going to take this off till we figure out what we're going to do. It's due. So you got to do something between now and the 20th.
Too late for that.
Huh?
It's a little late for that.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, as many people that I've heard talk about, I'm surprised this wasn't standing room only. I can't believe that there's just a few people that are shut up.
Again, it's difficult for business people to get away at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's exactly
Evening
what I
or
said.
morning meetings would be very
It's at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
We're open for discussion.
Yeah, but it's gonna be.
Jerry, you didn't know.
You haven't said that yet.
No, my wife made one phone call and got it fixed, pretty much, we don't know the number yet, but at any rate, I came up here to listen, and I've got it earful.
Well, thanks for, learning, because I think that was one of the first phone calls, I think, that we took on it, so.
I'm glad I was sitting down when I opened the statement.
And that was today. I think in that situation, we were able to come up reasonably and figure that there was something wrong.
Something I'm not clear on. How did we come up with the number that we have? We used Martin. So did Martin provide you a schedule of what they do for our business?
Martin, Steppenbach, size, and our own independent study.
So if we reduce back to 2 pickups a week rather than 3, would that reduce our assessment 33%?
Smaller container.
Well, you have to go, it will reduce it. I can't tell you what the actual percentage off the top of my head, but if you did reduce a frequency and or size or both, you would see a reduction, and it would be pretty significant, because the difference between a 2 cubic yard container getting picked up once a week is different from getting picked up twice a week. And if that's tenable, if you can make that work, there is a significant reduction.
But it's not retroactive, Larry, because you will already be paying
Yeah.
$2,000
Well, that's the second issue, is that, I mean, I literally was scrambling on how am I gonna pay the tax bill in December for what it was. And then when I got the new one, I'm like, there's no way. I mean, I don't have enough money to pay that bill, and that's, I think, the assumption on the other side, you own a business, you're making money, you know? Well, that's not necessarily true many months. And my bigger concern is not me, my bigger concern is my employees. You know, in the bottom line, that's gonna come out of their pockets. That $2,200 is probably coming out of their pockets. Cause I'm not on anybody to give me any raises at the beginning of the year like I would like to do, so I'm trading off people that are already working for a little bit of money for better trash.
But it ain't gonna be better. It could be the same. I think.
Bill, that's
I can't.
your opinion, I mean,
Well,
it's a long-term fix to a problem that's been going on for quite a while.
Well, but Martin's still gonna
I'd
come
like
there
to know
and tell them to pick up the trash and take it out, it's not gonna impact
I can't, I mean, my.
quality of life for anybody at our
It's
end.
gonna be the same. I'll probably end up cutting mine back and getting a smaller container.
One thing that we do want to do within, obviously with the recycling program, there's phase one, which is the curbside recycling, and phase two is expanding it into commercial application. And if you can divert out, because I know immediately, once we sign the contract with Deckenball, we can get a Ripple glass container, and you can divert out all your glass at no cost. And we'll essentially locate several containers, and that will reduce trash tonnage, trash volume. We can also do something with cardboard, paper, and as soon as you can divert out all your recyclable material, you can reduce your actual trash pickup even that much more. Obviously, with foodstuffs, with things that can't be recycled, that's an amount that you're just going to, but if you can divert out as many recyclables as possible, in addition to reducing the number of pickups and the size of the container. And I do understand we're gonna work how to fix this retroactive problem, because you know, in hindsight, we would have taken obviously different steps, more incremental steps, but at some point, with a fundamental change in funding, like we're attempting, then there has to be just cold plunge hard date that we have to adhere to. We will work to make it more tenable, make it more so that somebody's solid waste fee doesn't sink their business. We don't want that.
What about Martin's Trash Service in Don Bay? Because by them sharing data with you're costing them business.
If they're spending money to collect a half full container, and now all of a sudden you have an incentive to make it a smaller container and it's full every time.
Right, but I'm saying they have to retool the size of their dumpsters to accommodate the marketplace that exists under the new scheme.
Well, we also are going to encourage them to participate in the recycling program.
What's the negative impact of that?
Well, I'm saying the waste hauler, if I'm Martin's Trash Service, I gotta buy a bunch of new dumpsters. I've got people that are paying me less, and by the way, they helped you out and gave you some data that may or may not be working, and based on what I'm hearing, it's.
But how does it impact you? I guess that'd be my question.
I'm just speaking out for another business in Atchison County.
Okay, I'm just.
There's cause and effect.
Well,
That's my way.
we have, our dumpster up on our 6th Street location is a community dumpster. We had people drive by and put trash in there. I wouldn't need that big of a dumpster, but if I don't have it there, they're gonna throw it in the streets. And we've had people leave couches up there.
And that's.
Bags of leaves.
And you're talking curbside, are you talking the curbside on like putting dumpster, 60 yard or whatever someplace, and
That's where the inside the city residents.
Okay, now taking it into Concept Lancaster, you've got streets that aren't traveled every day by a trash truck, and as soon as a trash truck runs up the street that's got that much asphalt on it, it's gonna be torn to hell in a year. Now, who's gonna fund the streets now?
We're not, the second year of the recycling program, we are going to discuss and try and figure out ways that we can offer recycling to the outside of the city residents, whether that's offer another 40-yard roll-off at the Effingham site, so that we can use the same single stream of concept and have people that bring their trash in, divert it out themselves, and then when they dump it at the Effingham station, you throw it into trash or you throw it into recyclables. Other than that, we don't know how we can offer or incentivize a Deffenbaugh or a Martins to have curbside pickup outside the county, because that's it's sparsely populated with a lot of distance to cover. If it's something that we can figure out, either working with Deffenbaugh or it being a city-run or county-run operation, which is, not real likely, but it is, if it's even remotely possible, we'll consider it. But at this point, that is at the very best a year away. So, right now, all we can tell you is what we've discussed and what's on a tentative timeline, but we don't have any solid or concrete numbers and dates for the county residents, or the residents that live out in the county. So,
I was talking to somebody, Jeff, the other day, they got, I don't know where it was, someplace, they got one container for plastic bottles, one for glass, one for their own the houses. And the trash is coming around picking it up, but all that stuff is going into the damn trash, going right in the trash truck. But they're double dipping, I mean, they're charging you for the plastic container, the glass container, plus this. And the trash guy is coming around, picking it all up and putting it in the damn truck. I don't know who I was talking to. It wasn't around here, or somewhere else.
Yeah, that I couldn't speak to, because
I heard that. I don't know who I was talking to, but that's what they were doing.
Well, as we all leave here with no answers, are we gonna do this on Wednesday then, come back at 10 o'clock and?
I don't know exactly how much you're gonna have accomplished, because we're just new into it, we understand. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate,
Or have a night meeting.
If the 1 cent sales tax, as it was voted, had been lived up to all these years, we wouldn't even have been here. Now, I'm gonna leave it.
Well, that's a public trust, Mike. Why wasn't it, why can't it continue to be, I'm not even saying it should, but why today? Today.
Don't ask, okay, don't ask, I'm not.
You're the one, you're our liaison between the city of city of Ashland and the state of Kansas. There's laws.
Mike, I started on this earlier, and this is kind of on the communications side. I belong to the Lancaster Fire Department. We had to go buy all these radios and spend thousands of dollars to upgrade. That was 6 months ago. To Narrowhead, 6 months ago. Nothing's changed. In fact, it's worse. The communications that we have between life and death in the situation is very viable right now. There's no communication. At 3 o'clock in the morning, if I forget to turn my radio from scan to EP or to page, I'm awoken by this tremendous squealing sound. And it went on all day yesterday, and it went on all day the day before. And I finally called and they said, oh, we're working on the system. They've been working on it for a year and a half. And that's what's going to happen here. This is going to go on down the road for a year and a half.
You're saying that the new radio
went from wide band to narrow band, and we spent how many thousands of dollars, Wes? A ton. And we didn't get the answers on that. Here we go on this. I don't get it.
This is
I understand that.
I think one takeaway is this is something that has occurred over time. It's not one day that's going to fix the entire problem, because it's a problem. It's not. We've had little issues here and there that have some of it swept away.
Well, it is a problem, and it is a problem, and I'm not going to voice any names, but it's downstairs. They want us to do all these phone things too, and I get for one page, I might get 16 or 23 texts on my phone for a page now. Now tell me that's.
Oh no, I was talking about the 1% sales tax funding. I'm sorry, that's a problem that's not going to get solved in one day. But I think with the solid waste fee assessments, I mean, Chase is just now starting to get appeals. And we're in a process that we're going to go through, and we'll discuss it more. I mean, I think so far from what initiation we've had so far is I think we've had some pretty good feedback both ways. As far as like if there's any discrepancies, if there's any questions.
What I'm afraid of is there's not enough people that are aware that they can't question or don't even understand that the fee exists.
Okay, we've got stuff.
It's a press release on the website that just got posted Saturday. And darned if I can find anything else. I'm sure Mary's gonna talk to some people about it in the paper, on Wednesday, but by law, mail them a letter.
If there's no other further discussion, we have other things that we need to address.
Yes.
Just give us a real quick, Joe.
Somebody got a handrail out front and messed it up, and I've got 2 bids, and that's all I need to bid, so I don't know, what the old bids are. I'm sorry, what's the attention?
Joe thought you needed to talk to.
That handrail out front? Yes. Has been messed up, damaged by a car. I saw that when I got back. I'm having a hard time getting the estimates. I think I'm gonna get 2. Is that going to be surprised to know? I'm sure you see that. So then, do we fix it or? 2 crash engines are out of it, yeah. That's, I'll become a fire.
Ray?
Yep. I'm Ray Sanders, I'm a member of the Atchison Sheriff Reserves. The reason I'm here is we have a little enclosed trailer that we purchased several years ago, and first of the year, in May, I think it was, John approached us about using the trailer to haul all the luggage to the airport for the national thing in Washington that they all went to. We gave him permission to use it, and he wanted to put a tag on it, so he took the title, and when he registered it, he just told me that the reason he put it in the sheriff's department's name is so that it would be covered under the sheriff's department liability. My reason here today is to get it put back in our name. We have the trailer sold, so it has to be put back in our name so that we can release it.
So the reserves are selling equipment?
Yeah, that enclosed trailer.
You just need to transfer.
Transfer it back into our.
Obviously.
And that, is that the trailer?
I don't know, you.
I want to get the VIN number up, and make sure that that's the right title before, we go any further with that.
Okay, just out of curiosity for the equipment, do you have proof or some sort of documentation that you purchased?
We have a sales receipt where we bought it. John, we can call John, he can verify it too.
Okay.
I mean, we bought it from Fenton's. I can't tell you the exact date, but we bought it, it was damaged when we bought it from Hailstorm, and we've used it once a year, and just decided we're gonna sell it.
Are the reserves closing up shop?
As of the first of the year, yes, we are.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason is we have to liquidate our assets in order to do that.
Why are you dissolving?
Why? A lot of it's personal reasons. That's part of it. I'll be glad to tell you that I have nothing personal against Jack as a person, but there's been comments and things said about the reserves that we're not comfortable with. It was brought up in our monthly meeting trash or talk trash on anybody. I personally, I joined the reserves 17 years ago after John came into office. I've supported John for 17 years. I can't find anything that I can say he did wrong in 18 years. I think he done a lot of good for the county. But other than that, I'm not here to criticize anybody else for the way it is. We're just not willing to work for the new administration.
It needs to be an executive session. I think the only question I would have is equipment.
Equipment, and let me say too, that we are a 501c3 organization. We have never been funded by the county. We've never accepted a dime from the county. Everything that we have purchased has been purchased through fundraisers or money that we have paid out of our own pockets for everything we have. Not one thing. And you can ask anybody, and you can get on the county records.
That's apparently not true, because we were paying insurance on this trailer.
No, you weren't. Well, you paid.
I thought you said that's why it was transferred to
Well,
the county, so
we're still paying insurance on it too. We're paying liability plus property damage insurance on it. But we didn't have a tag. He wanted a tag to use it for what he did. But, I mean, the bottom line is we have proof that we purchased the trailer. We never sold it to the county. We never gave it to the county. We let them use it.
But
how's it titled, you know?
Well, now it's titled within the sheriff's department.
We have to verify that's the right one, though.
Yeah, we gotta verify.
We don't.
I mean, I can call John, have him come up here, but.
Well, we'll need some documentation about it.
The bill of sale should have a VIN number on it.
Pardon me?
The bill of sale should.
Sure. I mean, we've got the bill of sale. I mean, I didn't realize it was gonna be that big of a deal to get it transferred back into our name.
no, but hopefully you can see our concern. Sheriff's reserves, when they operate on behalf of the county, you can see where our concern would be with equipment or anything else. We're taking your word for it. In other words, we don't know what equipment you're talking about, or other than a trailer, I don't know what.
Well, everything that belongs to the sheriff's department is clothing that has sheriff's department patches on it. That's all been accounted for and returned. The badges, any collar brass that you wear is all, and that is all stuff that we bought, but that has actually county sheriff's department on it. That's theirs. I mean, everybody knew that when they came on, and that's all been accounted for. Our handguns, our duty belts, everything else is stuff we purchased and has already been sold. So, and it's all done within the guidelines of the IRS. I mean, that's who we have to answer to, because they tell us it's real specific as to what we can do with the money and what we have to do with the equipment. So, I mean, we're not trying to hide anything or anything. I mean, that's just the way it is. If that's all you need, you just need to bill sell it.
Pat, any other suggestions or?
No, I think if we get that probably is all we need.
Okay, do I need to just give that to Pauline, or?
Yeah, we're good.
And do I need to come back for another meeting to make sure, get your blessings on it, or?
I thought you had to go check the VIN also.
Well, I do, but I mean, they say if I come up Thursday with the VIN and give it to Pauline, I mean, do I need to come back to another commission meeting to?
No, Thursday will be closed. Thursday will be closed.
Well, I mean, well, it'll be Friday then.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So you might want to do it Wednesday.
I'll find a way to do it for Wednesday then. Okay. All right.
We'll be meeting Wednesday morning, right?
What time?
We meet from about 9:15 till.
Okay, all right, well, I'll get that documentation.
Does that work for your schedule?
Oh, that'll work, but my boss is pretty flexible in his relation. So, okay.
So if you get up here, we'll take care of that, we can do it right away.
Okay,
So
all right, no problem.
not have to sit around as long as you did today.
Okay, that's okay, it was pretty interesting. All right, thanks.
Yeah. Oh,
Doesn't matter.
Who's got the quickest out of the three?
I won't take this.
10, 13, 15.
You don't say 50. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Got two POs. One is for a cylinder repair on, our boom truck. And the second is, for the iron on the bridge at 238 and 59 hours.
This is the one south, kind of like,
Yes, right. On speed lot.
it's about what you thought, it's right now.
Yeah.
How's it coming along?
Pretty good. They've got both of the back walls, done. I think they're gonna set the beams tomorrow. So after that, it'll go fairly quick. There's still a lot. It's going good.
Is that the one you disassembled?
Yeah, it was, I think $1,500 or something. And I heard through the grapevine, that,
Brown County down that they got people.
Johnson County, yeah.
I apologize for not talking about that.
No, I forget who I heard. There's one of the commissioners,
Probably did Keith Olson call you back to tell you?
No, he didn't call me back.
Where was that? I might have been with you, cause somebody told me.
Yeah, it was one of, it's either one of the Brown County commissioners or maybe Johnson County commissioner, I thought, but I can't remember exactly where I heard it.
Did you hear the feedback? Did you hear, well, Sherry said someone talking.
There's two guys that don't belong to KMC.
Oh, please, they don't.
You can hear?
I think they.
They're there.
Only two,
Well, based on that, there's three.
Seems like there are more, I think there are more than two. I thought.
Well, it's that 103.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did, cause they increased the rent, he said that, their lunches, you guys should, no,
the county council,
This is in our
didn't
district.
that
Right, yeah,
like
yeah.
$40? Didn't that meal cost like $40?
We need to move that to the place.
I don't know, I don't see where it is. Did it really?
Oh, we can't.
Well, I think that's what they said, the one where they decided not to do it, pretty expensive. So I went to my parents' house.
The bridge out at, 310 in Cherokee, I've been in contact with, Mike Holderwood, and, he found the dam, the info on that dam up above the creek, and got me the dam number on that, but, we're still gonna have to go out and do just a little bit of surveying, and we are gonna have to pay to get some hydraulics done, some minimal numbers.
But he thinks it's.
I told him, I said, I don't wanna spend the money to get all this done, and you tell me I'm not gonna get a permit. He advised me that if we did what he
it sounded like several businesses were already like rethinking how they're throwing stuff away and redoing it. If they would commit to reducing.
We could readdress it.
I mean, cause that would we would have to add that because you reduce the revenue side, you've got the expense side staying at X. You've gotta have that match up, otherwise then you've got a cash flow issue.
Looked to me like we had the makings of a committee that would be willing to give you some advice about how to implement the recycling. So there were some people there that you maybe could invite.
Oh, no, and if you could interweave it into incentivizing recycling tied to the county, to the solid utility. I mean, but the recurring theme that we kept hearing was it's a big bullet and we didn't fight for it, or we didn't budget for it. So if we could make a concession where we'll have a percentage now that's less than the half, so that, if the $500, now it's $250. But, you know, either you reduce by April, or you pay the balance. And, I mean, if you wanna see incentive at its finest, you get people.
Don't get it too complicated, but
I mean, he has some merit, I mean, it is.
yeah, I know, but what he is, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think any of us wanna see businesses go out, I mean, that'd be counterintuitive for our whole county.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, we invite partners to come here and tell them, this is what potentially could happen to business, and we also need more.
So, and some could use.
Because they have a huge, state market share in the county, we need them to participate in recycling as well, so,
Yeah.
you know, we can make some quick pro quo happen, so.
I mean, Derek basically admitted that he did it in a roundabout way, but he said there really isn't no incentive for them to recycle, which under the present system, but he should have gone another step forward. There's no incentive for business before, when it wants that sales tax to pay for it, there was no incentive for it to save anyway, because the sales tax was funding their trash disposal.
Well, and that was brought up in your conversation too, and you know, that's been reported on.
You've done a good job, you've been to my meeting, you know, and stuff, and I think, you know, it's not as if the information isn't out there.
And since, when was that first joint county meeting, this has been discussed, since April, the solid waste assessment?
Oh, the actual study itself was January of last year, and then we had the
April was the first
idea.
meeting that when they came, and then we've had two other joint meetings where we've talked about the progress and how we're gonna implement it and stuff like that, so I mean, it's not as if it's.
Page 18 is of the solid waste, there's no revenue and cost connection between the sales tax and costs of collecting or disposing of refuse. Disconnecting costs from source of revenue discourages any attempts to convert trash to the waste stream or to control costs of waste collection or disposal. And that's basic economics at work right there. I mean, that's in the study, that's cited on page 18.
But up until now, all honesty, you know, I think the commission, you know, past commissions or whatever, have stuck to what they've agreed, is to use the sales tax money to fund. But there's gonna be, I mean, there's shortfalls. There's a couple look to me like, based on the audit fees, that if there wouldn't have been a little carryover, there'd have been shortfalls in how it's funded, based on how much money to be able to pay. Now, that's my opinion, but, and you know, you've got quite a bit out of the budget, I mean, you've got, and when you look at over the years, over the last 10 years or so, I mean, it's come down a lot.
And also, I wanted to address, the matter of how many employees we have out there. I know that was brought up. I really think we have the right number of employees right now out there.
Well, they have to do so much more other than just the transfer meetings. They have D&D, they have burn piles, they have everything else, and then they have just facility maintenance, and it takes one person the entire day to.
Well, it's not gonna be perfect, because you gotta remember, I mean, that thing's open 6 days, so when you're gonna have some, I mean, there's probably gonna be a little carryover, because you've gotta have so many full-time people to fill, I mean, they can't work 6 days a week, so I mean, there's gonna be, so there's gonna be a little overlap. I don't think there's too much doubt, I mean, without making a pretty, I don't believe it's 37,000, but figure, but.
No, it's probably like benefits plus salary, I would assume, total.
No, that wouldn't cover that.
I just wanted to bring it up because I know it was brought up, and I know.
But you know, I think your predecessor out there, had somebody get accused of doing some damage on their vehicle or something by unloading it. Do you remember anything about that? That's before your time out there, but, and you told them that, you know, if really somebody really needs some help them, but, don't go volunteering yourself.
I've never been out there when, if somebody needed help, they got help. I've never been out there when somebody can't get unloaded out there.
Never were out there, somebody helps us.
And I know we're gonna get, you know, we're gonna be under the microscope.
Do you have a room recliners on the side?
No, there is a couple of chairs over there. But
Yeah,
there is
seen
a
office chairs or whatever, even.
Yeah, there's a couple of like.
Yeah, most of the while you see some stray
drive to Atchison, get a truck, and go somewhere to put up there. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think when you've got anybody that's kind of like 24/7 or somebody's on call, I mean, I don't have a major problem.
That's me, and I do a lot of things on the weekends also, and they call me first, but if they can't get a hold of me, or they get a hold of me and I'm busy, they get a hold of Alan. And there used to be 3 people that took their trucks home, and we got rid of.
Yeah, you cut back on
We
that.
cut back on that one person, so I don't think we're out of line there. I just want to touch on that main that was brought up.
Well, you can see we're getting nitpicky.
Mr.
We're talking.
Chairman, are we want to adjourn or?
Okay. So moved. Second.
I was thinking about it.
We should discuss, we can discuss on Wednesday some alternatives. I think we need to discuss if we can go on some solutions that would help out business owners. Pauline, would you be able to get from Department of Revenue, like, since the inception of the sales tax? Can you get just that data, like the raw data?
You got it. That sheet I gave you's got it. Oh, a while back, I think it's laying there. I don't know what exactly I used.
Oh, you might have.
One person.
I said, this is gonna be.
Well, I think that it's me. I mean, I've been overwhelmed by a lot of stuff.
I'm just thinking like preparing for 2013, like we're gonna need something just so.
I have that sheet.
We show. I mean, it's not like current, it's not currency like here by the end of the year, but.
No, I know that, but how far back? I mean, years.
I wanna go back to the inception. I think that's still the way that. They could probably send us a spreadsheet with this, because just have them send us the raw spreadsheet, raw data, we can put together. No, but that's the treasurer.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Why do we need it from the state? We have it in our article budgets. It's right there.
Well, just,
It's 90.
it can't be, not saying that it's wrong, but it can't be.
Well,
That's what I'm saying, like, it's coming from the
it would
source.
be